If God isn't doing a subtraction, are you willing to?
That's great.
God doing the subtraction, I think, is some things that God will supernaturally zap out of your life. There might be relationships that you shouldn't be with. There might be, you might have a job that you've overstayed in, a relationship that you've overstayed in. And because you're a coward, God will just be like,
Ruslan.
Before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan, and this channel exists to encourage you to mastermind your business the master's way. May not be subscribed yet, so if you aren't, please hit that subscribe button. All right, now let's get into the video.
You know that an eagle is the longest living non-human species?
This audio is terrible.
An eagle can live 70 years. But when the eagle turns 40, it has an important decision to make. After 40 years, the eagle's beak begins to bend, so it no longer can rip open the carcass, and its talons become weak, so it no longer can grip the fish.
Pause it.
And
First of all, I didn't know this about eagles. Eagles are one of the oldest living things, 70 years old. But at 40, their beaks begin to bend.
That's crazy.
Very, very interesting.
his feathers become thick and heavy, so he can no longer soar. So at 40 years old, the eagle has to get all of his strength to get back up to the mountain. And when he gets back to the mountain, he's got a decision to make. If he's going to live another 30 years, he has to bang his beak against the mountain until it falls off.
Jeez! Has to bang his beak against the mountain until it falls off? It's my type of preaching right here.
And then when the beak grows back, he uses the new beak to pick out all of his talents.
Look at that.
Whoa.
Ain't that crazy?
Dang, this poor eagle.
And he's in his nest bleeding. But he knows that God strengthens through subtraction. And after he knocks his beak off and pulls his talons out, now he's got to pull out every one of his feathers so new feathers can grow. And it takes 150 days for a 40-year-old eagle to add 30 years to his life. And my question is, if God doesn't do the subtraction, are you willing to? Because if you're not willing to pluck it out, you just sentence yourself to be done because you could not endure pain.
If God isn't doing a subtraction, are you willing to?
That's crazy.
That's good.
What would God doing the subtraction look like?
God doing the subtraction, I think, is some things that God will supernaturally zap out of your life. There might be relationships that you shouldn't be with. There might be, you might have a job that you've overstayed in, a relationship that you've overstayed in. And because you're a coward, God will just be like, nope, done. Right? Right?
Yeah.
But then I think there's also the other side, which is the day-to-day sacrifice of dying to the deadly aspects of you, right? Dying to the things that are going to kill you. And as you're dying to those things, you are then waging war and putting those things to death so that God doesn't have to.
Okay.
And I think both can happen. Like, I almost feel like when you don't do the work of death, like when you don't do the work of putting the deeds of the flesh to death, sometimes God will step in and allow situations to die. I was in a business situation. You know the story. I'm not going to get into all the particulars, but I was in a business situation. At one point, super profitable, super fruitful, amazing. But I knew that I had overstayed my welcome. I had all the signs, the writing on the wall. I had to leave. And I didn't leave. And then God was like, nope.
Done.
Done. And because I stayed too long,
Yeah.
it cost me way more. The relational blowout, the effects on other people involved, it cost me way more because I was a coward and I stayed longer than I should have in a situation. And it delayed me getting started on YouTube. It delayed all kinds of things because I was a coward and I was afraid. And so God then plucked it out. Ideally, you go through this process willingly. And if you go through the process willingly, at least you can control to some degree the adversity. You get to go back up to the mountain and pluck the beak out so it can grow back stronger, right? And so I think that's the tension that we're in. And so I was talking to someone today who's younger, and I said, listen, life is going to throw adversity at you no matter what. You're going to go through adversity. Things are going to be hard for you no matter what. The question is, are you willing to preemptively prepare yourself for the adversity through going through a type of self-adversity so that way you're not caught off guard when it actually comes?
What would self-adversity look like?
So for me, my mother broke and fell her shoulder in 2020, 2 weeks before the pandemic. And she both of her hips were bad. So she was basically walking in her house. We were estranged at this point, and she was walking, and she has these little chihuahuas, and they got under her, and so she fell, splat, broke her shoulder. And so it was huge. It was massive. And she had no one to call but me. And I had to then go in and be caretaker. I had to take her to the emergency room. I had to make sure she got health insurance. I had to make sure she had food, EBT, like the whole. I had to set all this up and then pay all of her bills.
Yeah.
Make sure her rent was paid, like the whole bit. And at one point, remember, we weren't talking. So my mom's an alcoholic, was an alcoholic. She's been clean ever since. But I couldn't go over there with my son because when I would go over there with Levi, the place that she was at was so filthy because she had these stupid dogs and she wouldn't clean the dogs. And I remember having to clean her toilets. I remember having to clean all the poop, the point where the dog poop would burn my eyes. So this is what addiction really looks like. Yeah. Like I would tear up, not because I was crying, because it was the odor of the house was just like, it was arguably one of the grossest things I've ever gone through. Not to mention she then got the surgery right when the pandemic started, literally like the week of the pandemic.
Oh my
and they wouldn't keep her in the hospital for the type of surgery they did on her shoulder. They should have kept her in the hospital for a week. They sent her home the same day of the surgery.
Wow.
She had to come and live with us on my couch for a week. And she had one of those little toilet things in a living room. It was bad. It was bad. It was bad on every measure. But like having to be a care provider for your mom, having to deal with the smell, having to deal with the odors, having to deal with the uncleanliness. All of it was awful. But the way I was prepared for the adversity, and people are going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? This makes no sense. I had built up my ability to delay fragility because I had spent the last year and a half in the gym sculpting my body and putting my body under hard things, that when I finally was confronted with something really hard, like caring for your sick mom who's an alcoholic, who's going through withdrawals, has a broken shoulder, you're having to call nurses to come and check her out. Like when I really was going through the thick of it, I had already developed that muscle to the point of doing hard things on purpose, getting up in the morning, going to the gym, doing hard things. That prepared me for going through this thing.
Wow.
So I was like, I did these hard things. And so it's the same way. Like fill in the blank. You have a new baby. You can't get any sleep. Wah, you can't get any sleep. Oh no, right? Well, if you're doing other hard things in your life, you've already developed the resilience to go through a season of getting a low sleep. You name it, right? Moving, like so. It's like these daily choices to destroy your flesh and to do hard things, which most people don't do. Most people don't do hard things. They do easy things. But you do hard things until you do them long enough where they become easy, and then you do new hard things. And then when real hard things and real troubles come in your life, you're like, oh, I'm already equipped for this. I got this. I'll be fine. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Right? And so the moral of the story is on the other side of putting my quote-unquote beak to death, on the other side of this, my mother got her shoulder fixed. She got both hips replaced. She's been clean off of alcohol.
Let's go.
And she sent me a video this week, 2 videos of her in the gym.
Let's go. That's great.
She's going to the gym now. She's like 60, 63.
Side note, because I know on the replay, people are going to be so mad. None of that was true about the eagle thing. All the comments were like, that was completely false information.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But great metaphor. And we all, I'm just, for the replay, I get you. But the metaphor, awesome.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
good.
I got to bounce.
That's funny. Whether this is true or not, the message is powerful. Inaccurate information. Oh, that's an L. Gosh, how do we repackage that? The parable was a lie, but the message hit. Not true, sorry, but not true. Okay, is that for real? Did you look it up? At the moment when you're going through it, at the moment when you're going through something like that, it sucks. But if you've built the resilience through self-adversity, it's easier to go through hard stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching that video. Guys, I believe that one of the best ways you can build a business is by first building a platform online. So Zach Sparazzo put together a free training for you on the #1 metric you can be looking for to explode your YouTube platform. Click the link in the pinned comment below so you can start that now. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.